Hello everybody, welcome. Happy Friday. This is a deviation from our regularly scheduled programming on Fridays. If you're just joining in, my name is Evelyn of Pink Sheep Design, and we have officially kicked off our DIY hook challenge. So we sold our hooks all throughout May, so you had the entire month of May to purchase your DIY hooks, and today I'm going to start decorating mine. So I'm really excited to walk through the entire process. I have an unsanded hook, and I'll do a super quick intro too, because if you find this on YouTube, I do like to make sure that all of my live events are saved either here on Instagram or on YouTube. The DIY Hook Challenge is an annual event that we do each year, me and my husband, Captain Hook. We 3D print these white hooks and we sell them. They're 15 bucks to purchase an unsanded hook. We'll also sand them for you for $5. But once you get your hook, you have an entire month to decorate those hooks and you can win some awesome prizes. So that's the rundown on the DIY Hook Challenge. The purchase time for these hooks is closed for this year, but now it's on to decoration. So this is my plan, at least this Friday. I think next Friday I'm actually going to be going live for a Pink Sheep and Friends with Tony of TL Yarn Crafts. So I will have that next week on Friday. And the Friday after that, I'm going to be coming back to continue decorating my DIY hook with you guys, so you can see my process from start to finish. And I'll tell you guys, if anyone has not joined the DIY challenge because you are concerned that maybe you don't feel talented enough or creative enough to like think of a way to decorate your hook, I completely feel you. I think for me, you know, I've gotten a little bit better at drawing and things like that, but when it comes to having a plain white hook and figuring out what to do with it, it can get a little intimidating because I'm not really someone who doodles and paints a lot. You know, I like to create my merchandise on Procreate, but even that's really new for me. You know, I've only been putting out merchandise that I've designed for maybe a year and a half or so, maybe 2 years. So it's still new for me. So I have an idea for this year's hook, and we can go ahead and get started because I'll walk you through some of that too. But I would love to know if you're joining in on the DIY Hook Challenge. If you're not, what are you up to on this Friday afternoon? I have got my coffee, and I'll show you guys. These are the last 2 years Hook Challenge stickers. So if you join in on the Hook Challenge and you submit a finished hook, everybody gets an official sticker for that year if you submit your finished hook. So this was 2021 and this was the 2022 sticker, and I know it's not super focused on there, but you get the idea. So I've got my DIY hook mug, and I've got my hook, and I've got my bucket of water. So I've got water in here, and I have my sandpaper. That's my sandpaper. This is 400 grit sandpaper. This is wet and dry, which is why I have the bucket of water. So I'm going to be sanding my hook because it definitely needs some sanding. If you bought an unsanded hook and you plan to paint the hook or do anything where you're not kind of sculpting or anything like that, you don't have to sand them if you're going to do some kind of sculpture or something like that. But if you plan to use your hook, which I definitely want to use mine, I would suggest sanding it before you do anything else. So I've got that, and I also have, and I created one like this last year, but I wanted to show you guys because this is an awesome little hack for decorating your hook, because as you can tell, there's going to be no good way to hold your hook the whole time that you're decorating it. So if you guys get one of our hooks, you'll notice there is a little hole on the bottom, and we had an oopsie on the printer on this one, so I took the oopsie hook so that nobody got this one when they purchased their hooks. But these are 20mm hooks, so you can still see it says 20 on the bottom, but there's a little hole here. So what I did this year, and last year I used a kombucha bottle to do the same thing, but I used this little Spice Island smoked paprika jar. I put some gravel in it, so it's got some weight to it, and I also put the gravel all the way up to the top, and I'll show you where that is helpful later too. But then I took just a common nail, so literally they're called common nails, and I nailed the nail up through the top of the Spice Islands lid, like so. And then you just screw the lid back on top. And if my nail slides down, I do have some gravel in here that can stop it. So you could fill it all the way up with gravel and sand, or just something that's heavy, so that you have some weight to it. Because now you can put your hook on there and you have and it's a little wiggly, but that's okay. It's better than trying to hold on to it. Looks like a booby trap. Yes, so there you go. That's how I'm going to let my hook dry in between coats and decorating it and things like that. But super excited about that. So I couldn't find my kombucha bottle from last year, so I was a little like, oh no, what am I gonna do? But this is actually the perfect size, and if you ever get spice jars, just hang on to them, because there you go. You can use it for your DIY hook challenge decorating. Okay, and then I'm not going to use these today because I don't think I'm going to get that far today. Actually, I know I'm not, because I have to do a base coat. But I did purchase these acrylic markers on Amazon, and I'm super excited to try them out because I've never used these. The closest thing I've ever come to using these is paint pens. So like the paint pens from like Girl Scout camp is the closest I've gotten to using these. These have a thick side and a thin side, and it's 24 colors, so I think I'm gonna have everything I need. But I want to do a base coat today after I sand my hook. So I'm gonna show you guys this is just plain old acrylic paint. Let's see if I don't know if it'll show up there, but it's white acrylic paint. The brand is Cali Art, and we found it on Amazon. All of this stuff was from Amazon. So white base coat. I've got my plate that I'm going to put my paint on. I have got the brush that I'm going to be using to put my base coat on, and then I've got my water, and I've got a little damp rag to wipe my hook off, because once you sand it, you're going to have some residue left over from sanding. My spray bottle of clean water, and a dry shop rag to dry my hook off before I do my primer. And I think that's everything. So, like I said, please feel free to share if you want to. If you're joining in on the DIY hook hook challenge, let me know. There's a little comment box down here on Instagram where you can put it's got a little question mark, but you can put what you're working on and all of that in the comment box, and I'll make sure I'll see it, because especially once I start sanding, I may not see everybody's comments when they're coming through. Let's make sure I didn't miss anybody. I don't think so. I feel like Tracy, I know Tracy's here. Emily says, look how cute you are. Thanks. I did just dye my hair this morning, but it does not have time to dry yet. So it's just up while it dries, because I don't know if any of you guys dye your hair pink or red, but you don't put wet, freshly dyed hair on anything. So I knew if I let my hair down, or if I put it in a braid down the side, I would end up with pink residue on my pink shirt. So I decided a bun was best. And Tracy says, yes, sure am. So Tracy, are you working on your hook right now? Are you working on it with me? I would love to know. Okay, so let's see if I can get back down to the bottom of the chat. Let's see. Crochet Butterfly. Can we still buy hooks? Not this year. So and keep on the lookout, because this is our 3rd year doing this. And this, you pre-order your hooks through the month of May. So next May, you'll have the entire month of May to purchase your hook, and then you have the entire month of June to decorate. So we just closed orders on these May 31st. But follow the hashtag DIY Hook Challenge. You can see what everyone's working on, and then next year when we start talking about it again, we will have them ready. We have over 80 people participating this year. We sold over 100 hooks, so we're super excited. And let's see, Zelda is the girl says, if you sand the hook, will it be smooth? Yes, that's definitely the point of sanding. But it's also, so here's the thing about these DIY hooks. These are straight off the print bed. So when we sell our finished hooks, so you can buy a 20mm hook in our Etsy shop right now that's ready to use for crocheting. The difference is not only do we sand them, because if you sand this hook and you try to just use it without putting any kind of coating on it, it's going to be a lot like carving a hook out of wood and then putting no finish on it and trying to use it with your yarn. It's still not going to be very smooth. It's not going to be the best experience. I would never work even with a sanded, plain 3D printed hook. It's just not gonna be the best experience. It's gonna be a little harder on your hands. You can, but it's not what I would do, especially if you crochet a lot. But you want to sand it before you put anything on it. So before we resin coat it or do anything to our hooks, we always sand them to make sure that they're smooth, ready for the resin, and that you're not going to feel any bumps through the resin. So that's the goal. And then obviously for decorating, you want as smooth of a surface to draw on and do all of that. So we are going to get started with that. I think that was the last question that I had missed. Fiber Ring says your hair looks awesome. Thank you so much. And Tracy is not working on her hook right this minute. Okay. And Zelda says I haven't decided on my design yet. I'm still kind of on the fence with my design, but I'm definitely going to share a little bit more about it as we go through the process. Okay, I think that was all my questions, and bear with me if I don't see your question right away. Definitely put it in the question box right down here. If you don't want me to miss it, you can put that there and it will alert me that I have a question or a comment, because the chat goes really fast. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys my process for sanding these hooks, and let me tilt this down just a little bit more, and I'm going to scoot my chair back. And I love my chair and my shoes match today. That's awesome. And my little thing. These are Lucy and Yak, by the way, if you guys haven't heard of Lucy and Yak. I absolutely love these. These are my work overalls, my dye my hair in overalls, all those overalls. And actually, before I get started, I need to swap these around. So I don't know if you guys, if you own a pair of overalls and these fall off really easily, I like to cross them over. So I'll cross this one to this side and cross this one to this side, and then they don't fall off my shoulder as easily. So if I'm really getting to work, then that's what I'll do, and that'll help keep them in place for me. All right, and I got these, I think I got these like 3 years ago, and they're still in the summertime. If I'm working on anything, when we painted these chairs, we covered these chairs. I wore these while I did that, and I really would like them to actually get a little more character as I continue to work and dye and bleach and all of that fun stuff in them. But they're really comfortable, so super happy with them. Okay, so I'm going to try to get where you guys can actually see what I'm doing. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. I'm not too far from there. All right, so I've got my sandpaper, and we do this with all of our hooks. So this is part of our process. If you guys have purchased or seen the line of crochet hooks that we sell in our Etsy shop. But I'm going to get the sandpaper wet. So wet sandpaper, if you can see the dripping. And then I usually wet my hook as well. So I'll just dip my hook in there really quick. And then from here, you just start sanding. And you just want to keep everything with a little bit of dampness, and that helps you not have particles floating around up in the air for you to be breathing in. And it almost creates like a sludge on your hook while you're working with it. Now, I do like, you know, even if this helps not create particles in the air, it's still good to be in a well-ventilated space when you do anything like this. So being outside is really nice. Zelda says, if we add material to the end of the hook, but we can still crochet with it, does it still count as a functional hook? Yes, and really, it's really up to you what category you want your hook to be in. If it is still usable to crochet with, you can definitely put it in the functional hook category. That was really the goal, is we wanted to separate out the hooks that cannot be used to crochet with anymore because of how they were decorated, and the ones that can be crocheted with. And it's not a bad thing if they can't be crocheted with. We had our very first winner of the hook challenge created a dragon sculpture out of her hook. And it's like a treasure that you put on a bookshelf. I mean, it's amazing. And so we just wanted a way to not just level the playing field, but give you guys more options and obviously more prizes. Now we have 3 categories, so we have 3 winners at the end of the challenge. But it is totally up to you as to how you want to categorize your hook. As long as you can, like I said, as long as you can use it to crochet with, then functional category is most likely going to be the best pick for you. Now, we have had people who, their hooks are like transformers, so there's pieces and parts that can be taken off and put on, and if those pieces are on the hook, you can't crochet with it, but you can take them off, and then all of a sudden it's a functional hook. So that's been a really fun and interesting thing that we've seen. We saw a lot of that last year. I think we had at least 3 or 4 entries where people had, it was kind of a crossover, you know, because it could be either. And in that case, it's up to you. You're not going to get dinged if you choose the wrong category. It's supposed to be fun, and, you know, we don't want to add any stress to the situation. So as you guys can see, I work really hard on sanding this piece right here that's actually going to be grabbing the actual hook portion of the hook, and then these sides, because your yarn runs along the sides of this hook. And so I want those to be nice and smooth so that those aren't going to snag my yarn or be too sharp and actually cause stress or damage to the yarn when you're working with it. It's really not a very humid day here, so I feel like my hook is drying out really fast. So you really want to keep that sludginess. Now, you probably can't see that, but there's like some black sludge, and that's from the sandpaper and the water. So I'm going to work all the way down the side of the hook. Since I know that I'm going to be drawing on it, I want it to be as smooth of a surface as I can get it to. Now, when you're using a 3D printer, you're going to get layer lines. They're called layer lines. If you Google that, you can kind of get a close-up of what that looks like. If you purchased one of the DIY hooks, you can see it up close and personal, that when you look at your hook, you can actually see the lines where the 3D printer printed the circles up the hook. Like, you know, the tree rings, right? And so that is what you're trying to kind of knock down when you're sanding, is so that those aren't as obvious. You're not most likely going to get rid of them all the way. You're still going to be able to see them and slightly feel them. But if you can even that out a little bit, that's going to help you a lot when you're decorating your hook. And that's how, you know, we do a resin coat after we sand it. And we want our hooks to be as smooth as possible before we add the resin, so that you don't feel any pock marks and things underneath that first coat of resin. So I'm almost done. It doesn't take too much, especially on these big ones. Let's see. And then I just run my hand along the edge. So none of our sanding is done with machines. Some of that is just because we want that control of really feeling every piece of the hook and making sure that it truly is super smooth. But the other thing is, when you work with machines, it can get hot. And since we're not working with wood, we're working with like a plastic-esque filament. You don't want it to melt if you get it too hot. So yeah, sanding by hand, that's the name of the game. All right, I think mine's done. This feels really nice. I also make sure I get the top. So I get the top there. But that feels really nice, so I am going to set my sandpaper aside. Let's move that over here. Make sure if you're using water like that and you have pets, don't leave it down. You don't want Fido or Cat, what would the cat's name? Fluffy. Fido or Fluffy drinking the water that you were sanding in. So just be aware. And now I've got my clean water, and I'm going to spritz my hook with the clean water. I know you can't see that, but that's what I'm doing down here, just to kind of clean that off. And then I've got my wet rag, so I'm going to wipe it down with my wet rag first. There we go. So this is great. If you bought an unsanded hook and you were kind of wondering, where do I go from here? I really wanted to show you that process on how to prep your hook for paint or whatever it is that you want to use. Now, this is the next important part for prepping your hook if you are wanting to do a lot of detail work on your hook. So if you're going to use paint pens or Sharpies or anything that you're wanting to really kind of get in there and draw, if you try to draw straight on this surface, it is going to bleed. So I didn't want anyone to go to town and realize that their ink was bleeding or their paint was bleeding into these layer lines, even if you smoothed them out. This is the next step, and actually I'm going to go ahead and dry it. So I've got my dry shop towel here, and you can just, if you don't have like the water or your hook is really gross from sanding, you can get a toothbrush and just some dish soap and scrub it down with the dish soap and wash it with just like warm water, and that will clean your hook off. So I just did the spray bottle. My hook's not really gross. And then I'm using this one. Be gentle if you're using a paper towel because it can leave residue. It's better to use something like a shop rag or like one of those flour sack towels. I don't know if you guys have seen those. Those are really great for drying off your hooks. But keep them separate. Don't use like a kitchen towel that you use in the kitchen on your food and all of that to clean them off. I would use something separate, just to be careful, just to be safe. You know, we keep kitchen things and craft things separate. I think a lot of us have figured some of that out over the years, that there are certain things that don't need to go down the kitchen sink or be used with the kitchen sponge. All right, so I'm making sure my hands are dry as well. This hook feels pretty dry. I'm gonna make sure. And just to be safe, I'm going to pop it on my little homemade hook holder and set it just on the table over here for a few minutes while we talk about my next step. And drink some coffee because I need some coffee. So if we have anyone new joining in, I am working on my DIY hook for the DIY Hook Challenge 2023. Even if you're not joining in this year, you can join in on the fun to watch me decorate mine, and you can check the hashtag DIY Hook Challenge to see what other people are working on. If you were in the Hook Challenge, you should have received an email from me either yesterday evening or today, just right before this live started, about an hour before the live. Check your spam folders if you haven't gotten it, because that is your welcome email. It's got your hook submission link. It's got a link to our new Discord server just for DIY hook participants. What else? You're gonna get more emails with special exclusive deals from our sponsors. So a lot of our sponsors have created special discount codes that I'm gonna get to share with you guys really soon for products from our sponsors that you can purchase throughout the challenge at a discount. We have giveaways. Our first giveaway has started for participants. So check your spam folder if you haven't gotten that email yet. Join the Discord server if you'd like to. Yeah, that's it for the participants. But anyone who's not participating, I'm so glad that you're still here and watching and want to hang out. Forgot what I was going to say. Cheers. But I figured this would be fun. I did this a little bit last year with my progress. And like I said, I won't be live next week doing it. Next week I'll be live with Tony of TL Yarn Crafts. But the next Friday after that, I will be back live and I'm going to show you guys some progress. So the next step that I'm going to be doing is using this plain white acrylic paint on here. And I'm going to coat my entire hook in the plain white acrylic paint. This is important, like I said, and this was what I was getting at with the ink bleeding. This will help keep your ink from bleeding. So if you're doing any kind of detail work, and it doesn't have to be super detailed, just if you're drawing on your hook in any way, shape, or form, get yourself some plain white acrylic paint and do a base coat first. This is gonna help you not have the headache of your ink or paint pens or Sharpies or anything bleeding out into the layer lines, and you're gonna lose the detail. The first year that we did this, we didn't really discover that, and we had a lot of people who had these big plans for their hooks, and they kind of got, it was a big bump in the road, and it was kind of frustrating, and I think some people didn't finish their hooks because they got frustrated immediately because they couldn't get that level of detail with their hooks. So this will help with that. But the other thing is, this is supposed to be really fun, so we don't want everyone to get all worried and sad because things don't work out. Slap another white base coat on top of everything that you worked on and start over, my friends. Like, that is the name of the game. This is supposed to be a fun challenge. We want you guys to enjoy it and try some new things that maybe you haven't tried before. All right, so let's get this paint on here. I don't think I have to shake these. It's not really doing anything. So I think I can just, oh yeah, that was like overflowing. All right, I don't think I need a lot of this, and I don't want to waste any. So let's just do a little bit of paint. You guys can see, that's how much paint I put on there. And then I've got this brush. I wanted a brush that was a little soft. This is the softest and largest brush that I could find. I don't have a ton of paint brushes. You can just find a simple intro paintbrush set at like Michael's or Joann's or Walmart or whatever. But I am going to go ahead and start putting this coat of paint on here. And I'm not sure this year if I want to do multiple coats of white. I'm going to see how this goes. And your base coat can be any color. I just remembered, you know, you don't have to do a white base coat. If you're making, you know, I don't know, an underwater ocean scene on your hook, then you could start with a base coat of blue. That would be a good option for you. Don't work harder than you have to. If, you know, if you're not a huge fan of the painting process, you don't have to do a white base coat if you're just going to go back over it with a different color. Let's see, and I think I got, let's see, I have a question. Tracy says, how many layers can go on without affecting the size of the hook? That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure on that. When it comes to paint, I don't think, I mean, I feel like you'd have to put quite a few layers of paint on unless you were just really, really caking the paint on. I think you could get away with quite a few layers before it starts to affect the size of the hook. You know, we have the calipers that we use to measure our hooks. So you could probably get yourself a little set of calipers. I feel like every crocheter needs calipers to make sure that all of their hook sizes are correct. But you can do that. If you have the hook measurement tools, you can use those to see. Now, resin is a little different. You know, we only do 2 coats of resin, and once you start getting into like 3, 4, and 5 coats of resin, that's when I would really start to worry that you would affect the size of the hook. But so far, we haven't really had any issues with that, so that's good. Not so as much as to, especially when you're in these big sizes, you know, I think when the big sizes are off a little bit, it's not as noticeable as when the little sizes are off a little bit. Because, you know, you go from, you have like a 3 and a 3.125 and a 3.25 and a 3.5 and a 3.75. But when you get into the big sizes, it's like, you know, 15, 16, 20, 25. Now, we make in between sizes. But you know, I think it's not as noticeable in the big sizes. So I wouldn't worry too much, you know, even if you're going to use it, you know, and you'll know if you really start caking it on and then you add resin on top of resin, if that's what you're choosing to do to decorate your hook. You can just check it at the end and you'll know, you know, that hook was just a little bit bigger. That might be a 20.25 instead of a 20. Let's see. Ellen says, love the yellow chair. Thank you, Ellen. We even covered them. So it's got this wonderful Tommy Bahama looking, I think it is Tommy Bahama fabric actually. But it was such a fun green fabric to put on there. They didn't have anything that was bright, the fabric wise, in the spectrum of colors that I wanted that didn't have a lot of white. So there was some really cool bright colored floral fabrics out there, but the base was white and there was a lot of white mixed into the fabric. And there's still quite a bit of white in this one, but not enough for me to worry about it. But I was like, if I have so much white, they're just going to get ruined. You know, this is an outdoor table set now, so I didn't want to have a lot of white to potentially get ruined. All right, I am making progress. I'm trying to smooth out my lines. And I'm really looking, I mean, you can see when you have filled the layer lines. Like if you're looking up close, you'll see there's sections where you can actually still see the layer lines poking through. So I'm just kind of gently going back over those sections. And I don't think that I'm gonna need a second coat of this, but like it's drying so fast that I might be able to do a second coat today. Now I'll usually hold it as long as I can just because the apparatus that I created, it works, but it is still a little wobbly. So it's nicer to have as much control as I can for as long as I can. Now, if you don't want to create something to hold your hook, you could stop here. You could get as low as you could to the bottom, let it dry, and then hold the top that's dry and work the bottom. That's an option as well, if you don't want to have to create some kind of holder for your hook while you work on it. I feel like someone is doing some kind of work nearby. I can hear big trucks and big equipment. Yeah, I didn't even need as much. I didn't even need the amount of paint that I poured out on the plate. That's what I figured. I didn't figure I was gonna need too much for this because it is such a thin coat. Now I'm trying to keep it smooth because again, that'll be the same problem with the layer lines. If I've got a really bumpy primer coat, it won't be as helpful. So I'm just trying to smooth all that out. Okay, cool. I think that's good. All right, so now it's on to my holder, and let's move this so you guys can see. There we go. I'll move mine here. Okay, perfect. There we go. So you guys can see my little hook. And I can just spin this as needed, which is helpful. I do feel like this little spice jar is the perfect size for this. And I do like to save these. I hate throwing away little glass jars. You never know what you could use them for. We have a few of these that are full of like little rocks and pebbles that we found when we've traveled and explored. Anyone else collect like rocks and things? There's a beach that we really want to go back to in California that's got some really gorgeous like agate rocks. I think that's how you say it, agate. So maybe one day we haven't decided. We are going to be taking our first big RV trip this fall, and we haven't decided all the places we want to go. I know we want to go to the Grand Canyon because neither of us have ever been. So let me know if you guys have ever RV'd to the Grand Canyon. But we definitely want to do that, but we don't know how far we want to go, how long we want to be gone, where else we want to go. So we have plenty of planning to do to figure out exactly what that trip is going to look like, but we're really excited. I think I have, is that brush hair? I think I might have dropped a brush hair on here. If I did, it's not coming off. I have to use my fingers. Let's see. That might just be part of the hook now. I think it's going to be. Okay. Well, there we go. That is my prepped hook. So it is coated with one coat of white acrylic, and I do think I'm going to try to let this dry and do one more coat. I think that would be helpful, and we'll see. Maybe not. I don't know. But I am going to tell you guys a little bit more about my idea and what I think I'm going to do, because we have plenty of time left. All right, so Tracy says I do my bigger ones. I line them up on my banisters so I can see them. I can't remember what we were talking about. So what are you lining up on your banisters, Tracy? And Woman Walking a Wire, love your overalls. Thanks so much. Yeah, they're Lucy and Yak. Lucy and Yak. I have a pair of their one of their boiler suits too, but these are my favorite. I think they've updated the fit too. Like I got these 3 years ago, and so I'm kind of afraid to order more because if they don't fit the same, I think I'd be really sad. Let's see. Zelda says, I love the Grand Canyon. People complain that it's just a big hole in the ground, but it really has beautiful scenery and wildlife. Can definitely spend a week there easily. That's good to know. Tracy says rocks. Yes, I was talking about rocks. I love it. That's perfect. Squirrel. I try to talk about different things and then I forget what I was talking about. And Ellen says shells, collect shells. I love it. And let's see. I think I've got another comment. Let's see. Ellen says my buffet is full of rocks and shells. Yes, and we have bookshelves downstairs that have lots and lots of treasures on them, so that's really fun. Okay, so talking about the hook, and like I said, I may put one more coat on there because I have plenty of white paint left. And I'm going to go ahead and clean this brush real quick too, and clean it and dry it at least somewhat. That might have been a really bad idea. Especially if I was planning on using it again, but I have all my tools and my goodies, so let's see. I wonder if I can use, I can use the wet one to kind of dry that out a little bit. Alright. And then I've got my dry one. I should be able to get that dry enough to use it again. Okay. It's water-based, so it's fine. Alright, so I'm going to let that dry a little bit. And I may put a second coat on in a minute, but okay, so my idea for my hook this year, I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if I've got the creative talent to make it happen, but I'm going to try. So, as you guys know, the Super Mario Brothers movie came out this year. I don't know if you guys have seen, I love Jack Black. I love all of his movies, and I don't know if you guys saw the reel that's his Peaches song. The Peaches, 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 Peaches. If you haven't, you should check it out. It's going to live in your head rent-free for the rest of your life. But I liked Super Mario Brothers growing up. I wouldn't say like I loved it. It wasn't like an obsession or anything, but I really enjoyed it. And I didn't play a lot of video games, but I did enjoy playing the Super Mario Brothers games on the original Nintendo, and then on the, I guess it was still original Nintendo, but it was like the different ones. So there was the original Super Mario Brothers, and then there were the other ones that had like the little worlds and stuff. So I think it was like Super Mario Brothers 2 and 3 and 4. Like I think they had numbers, maybe, if I remember correctly. But I really enjoyed playing those, and then I also really enjoyed the Mario 64. So I played that Mario 64 game and played the Zelda 64. So that was pretty much it though. Once I outgrew playing the Nintendo 64, that was kind of the end of gaming for me until I married the captain, and I played Warcraft pretty heavily for a couple years. I think we played Warcraft pretty heavily, and that was really enjoyable. I did very much enjoy playing Warcraft. And that was probably in 2011 was probably the heaviest that we were playing Warcraft. Margelous Creation says Super Mario 2 and 3, and then Super Mario World was on the Super Nintendo. Gotcha. So yes, all of those. I enjoyed all of those. And with the movie coming out this year, I have not seen the movie. Let me know if you guys have seen the new Super Mario Brothers movie and if you liked it. I like all the actors that are in it, so I'm really excited to see it. We don't go to movie theaters. I think the last time we went to a movie theater was pre-COVID, and quite a bit pre-COVID. But when they come out on video, that's probably going to be one that we see immediately if it doesn't come out on any of the streaming services first. But really excited to watch that. But let me know if you guys have watched the original Super Mario Brothers movie, the live action Super Mario Brothers movie that came out. And I don't even know what year it came out, but it was the one where it was like an alternate dimension where humans had evolved from apes, and then there was a different dimension where humans had evolved from dinosaurs. And there was a crack in the dimension, and they wanted to, I guess it was dimension, I think that's what they were considering it, and the leader of the dinosaur dimension wanted to take over like both of them. And let's see, Tracy said my kids went and saw it, so I know about Peaches. Was that in the movie, by the way? I don't know if that actually was in the movie or if it was just an Instagram thing. Margelous, it was awesome. I cosplay as Firepower Peach and was thinking I might do that for my hook. Oh, I love that. That's awesome. But yeah, so that one originally came out, and it's got like the Goombas in it are just so funny. I mean, I can't get over it. I love that movie. I didn't own it up until the new movie came out, and I was like, I need the old movie, because there were all these memes coming out of kids saying that they wanted to go see the Super Mario Brothers movie, and the parents my age were like, oh, we have that movie, and it shows like the little weird Goomba with the harmonica face. So Margela says, oh, it was fantastic, it was grungy and fun. Exactly. So if you guys have not seen that one, I highly recommend it. You can get it on Amazon for like $5, so totally worth the investment to get yourself that on DVD. I'm pretty sure it was possibly Letterboxd, though. We had to do some adjusting on our new TV to watch it and it not be really bad aspect ratios. But it's doable, and we watched it and it was wonderful. As wonderful as I remember it being. If you, like me, are a fan of The Labyrinth, it's in that world for me, with just kind of the fantasy and adventure and live action and the weird creatures, and so really fun. So that was a fun one. I think only one person so far has said they've seen it. So if you've seen it, raise your hand, do the hand raise emoji, because I think a lot of you guys need to go buy that movie if you haven't seen it yet. So why is all of this important? I have thought about doing a Mario theme for my hook, and I haven't fully decided, but the idea that was in my head, now again, trying to get this from my head onto a hook is a whole nother situation, but my thought process was to have strips going around the hook, so like lines this way, and they'll wrap around the hook kind of like a comic book. So it would be like each little section of the hook would be its own section that you could kind of turn and look at. And I wanted each of those sections to be pieces out of the game, the original games, the side-to-side games. So when you're moving from one side to the other, not like a Nintendo 64 world. Can't even imagine trying to do that. But I thought that could be really fun. So like the little blocks and the question marks. But my concern is I don't know, because I can't make the sections too big, or you're not going to be able to fit hardly anything on the actual wraparound portion of the hook. So I don't want to make them so small that then the detail's just gone. So I think what I'm going to do, and this is, I guess, a cheat code idea if people are wanting to try to figure out how to put stuff on their hook. What I'm going to do is, and I'm sure I'm not the first one who's done this, but I'm going to cut out pieces of paper. So let's see. Let's do it this way. So let's pretend this is paper and I have scissors because I don't have that out here. All right. So I'm going to cut out strips of paper like this, and I'm going to wrap them around my hook, and I'm going to cut them so that they are a perfect length to just wrap around the hook. So let's do that right here. So that's where that one is. So I would cut this right here. And that should be almost exact. There we go. So just so that they come together like that. And then from there, I will draw my design on here first to see like, okay, how much can I actually fit on here? And then once I have that drawn, I will have to transfer it. Now, I'm not gonna like do any kind of trick to transfer it onto my hook, but I'm gonna have to draw what's on here, and I may have to use like a grid system. So I remember, have you guys ever heard of, and I don't know if they call it this specifically to this event or if this is called this for everything, but the Flint Festival, it's a sidewalk chalk art festival in Montgomery, Alabama. And that was something that I got to go to in high school with my high school art class. And these are uneven. There we go. That was bothering me. I was slipping. But my high school art class, I got to go to the Flint Festival, and what you would do is you would have your drawing that you were going to put onto the big parking space spot. So you have this huge parking space that you're going to fill with your drawing. And so one of the techniques that you'd use is you take your drawing that you're going to be transferring into this big space, and you would make a grid. And then you'd make the same grid on the parking lot space, and then you would just have to draw each little section in the little grid to make sure that everything came out to the same size. So I think that's what I'm going to have to do with this. So I would draw my little Mario scene right here, and I would draw a little grid, and then I would draw the same grid on here with like a pencil maybe, and then go over it with my markers. So that's what I'm thinking, and I don't know, I don't know if it's going to be perfect, but I feel like it's worth a try. I think if it works, it could be really fun. And I definitely wanted something that I could coat with resin so that I can use it. So that's my goal. What do you guys think? You think it's possible? I heard the captain come outside, but I don't know where he went. I think he's in the garden. The garden is getting huge, by the way. It is about time for him to go live in the garden so you guys can see, because we have so many tomatoes. Oh, and there's a little bug. Yeah, it's really nice outside. That's why I wanted to do this out here. Okay, so I think it's time for me to do maybe one more coat. And again, if you guys have questions or anything, for me while I'm on here, please let me know. But this is where we're at so far. I'm hoping that by the Friday after next, so again, next Friday, I'll have a Pink Sheep and Friends live, but the Friday after that, I'm going to be continuing. So I'm hoping that by the Friday after next, I will have figured out my grid idea, and I'll maybe have started on it, and then I can bring you guys in so that you can watch that process. So I'll probably do a little bit of working on those pieces of paper and working on those drawing ideas, and then by the time I go live, you know, I should be trying to figure out how to put those onto the hooks. But I want each little strip, I completely forgot to say this, but I wanted each little strip to be from like a different level or world from the Mario scene. So like having the OG, very, very original one, either at the bottom or the top, and then having like the water world and the underground dungeon, the Yoshi world maybe, I don't know, but like different levels and worlds within that 2D Mario world. So that's the thought process. Fingers crossed it works, because I feel like it could be so cool if it works. Last year I did a Mr. Meeseeks hook, so I don't know if you guys saw that one. I should have brought it with me so I could show you guys, but I designed a little Mr. Meeseeks, and that was a really, really fun hook, and I didn't think that was possible either. I didn't think it would turn out as good as it did, so fingers crossed that this one turns out good too. But I'm going to go ahead and add my next coat, and I think it's dry enough to do one more coat. So we'll do that, and I'm actually going to hold it on here the whole time. So let me move this. Tracy says good luck. Thank you, Tracy. I'm most likely going to need it. Let's see, will that work? Let me come over here. Over here a little bit more. All right, so one more coat. Let's see if I can do this on here. Yeah, that's dry enough for me to hang on to that a little bit, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I think one more coat will be more than good enough. And I think that might smooth everything out a little bit. We'll see. And thanks to everyone who joined in today. I know this is not my normal Friday, but it seemed like a really fun thing to do while our challenge is going. So the challenge is all through the month of June for decoration. And then at the end of June, everyone participating will submit their hooks. And then we will have our judging process, which is super stressful because you guys make some amazing hooks. So the judging process is always difficult. Y'all don't make it any easier on us. But I think July 15th is going to be our closing ceremony. We're going to do that live on YouTube, just in case, you know, sometimes we have people who join in the challenge who aren't here on Instagram, and I wanted everybody to be able to join in live no matter what platforms you use. So that, I believe, is going to be July 15th. I think that's what I have on the website. It is on our website, so if you have any questions about deadlines or dates, you can check out our website at therealpinksheepdesign.com, and the DIY challenge page is under the drop down for crochet hooks, so you can check that out. Oh yeah, this is gonna be great. And I have a feeling I'm gonna know pretty quickly if the Mario idea is or is not going to work. Because as soon as I start trying to draw that on paper, if I can't draw it on the paper, we might have a problem drawing it on the hook for sure. So, all right. But I do think that these double coats of acrylic are going to be very helpful in making this a little bit easier, even if I draw something else. But fingers crossed, I can pull off the Mario idea. Because it was the very first idea I had this year, and it felt, was one of those ideas that I was like, yes, that needs to happen. So I felt very strongly about it. And we'll see if I can make it work. All right, I'm about halfway down my hook with the second coat. It's looking pretty good. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that. You can kind of see the brush strokes. It's almost to a point where I'm gonna have to put it back on. Back on my little holder. Yeah, it's getting a little sticky. Looking good, and I think I might actually need a little more paint. Let's see. This is the best time of year to be able to work on this outside too. Just an excuse to get out of the house, not be in front of the computer, for sure. Okay. Looking good, looking good. Let's do a little more so I can get the bottom. I think I need like the teeniest bit more. I'm just trying not to waste any paint. Nice. All right. Almost there. Y'all hear that weed eater in the back? Somebody's doing some work. Hard work, 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 work. Hard work. All right. I think we are good, you guys. We rewatched all of the Stranger Things seasons. I don't know if you guys are Stranger Things fans. We are. Last year, if you guys had not looked at last year's winners, our functional hook winner was a Stranger Things themed hook by Chrissy, Stitches by Chrissy, which was awesome because Chrissy wake up. So be sure to check that one out. And that's kind of, I got my idea kind of from hers because she put so much detail into hers with paint pens. I believe she used the same kind of thing, like a paint pen, acrylic pen. And I was like, oh, I've got to try to put more detail on my hooks and use a paint pen versus trying to use like a Sharpie or brushes, because I just don't have that hand control to try to use something like this to brush. I did with my Mr. Meeseeks because it was like longer lines, it wasn't super tiny detail, and I did a pencil and Sharpie outline first. And then added a coat of paint over it so that I could kind of work underneath it, so that helped a little bit. But here we are. That's it. That's 2 coats of white. And it is ready for me to start planning out what is going to be happening next. Let's see. Tracy asked, do stickers stick to the hook? Okay, that is a good question because we have had people decorate with stickers. Last year, we actually had someone use stickers for their hook, and then they sent their hook back to us to be resin coated. So the stickers were not completely adhered to the hook. So we had to kind of use the resin to get them to kind of stick so that we didn't get the, so that you couldn't feel that edge of the sticker sticking out of the hook. And I can't remember if we ended up kind of sanding a little bit. I don't think we sanded over the stickers. I can't remember. But I recommend, if you're going to use stickers, to use some kind of adhesive glue as well. And it may help to do the paint first. I haven't tried that yet. I know that stickers are going to struggle to really adhere to just the 3D filament. Most stickers, I would think. So I think maybe that base coat of an acrylic paint might help the stickers stick to it. It might not, I'm not sure. But I would definitely recommend using an additional adhesive with your stickers. So for me, the very first hook that I decorated back in 2021, for the first DIY hook challenge, I cut out pieces of comic books and did like a Mod Podge collage over the top of the hook. And I found that the Mod Podge was not a good adhesive to the hook. Now this was just sanded plastic. I don't even know if I sanded it. It may have just been a plastic hook, one of our 3D printed hooks. And I had to use, is it tacky glue? It was in the brown bottle. So it was like a brown bottle craft glue that you can find at craft stores, I'm sure, but I think it was called tacky glue. But I would use a glue that you can brush on, like get yourself just a simple little brush on where you want to put your sticker, put the sticker down on top of some adhesive to help it stick. Because I don't think, from what we've seen, most of those stickers, unless they're just really, really, really sticky, may not stick. Because I was super interested to know, and if anyone tries this, I would love to see it, the nail art stickers. Because they're so tiny and there's so many little fun designs to stick onto your nails, that I thought that would really be cool to like cover a hook in the little nail art stickers, even if it was like the same kind of sticker in different colors, so like sunshines or rainbows or hearts or things, but they have little animals. I've saved some of those in my Amazon cart because I thought it would be really fun to try to decorate our hooks with the stickers and then do the resin, 2 coats of resin over the stickers and see how it feels, if there's any weird tactileness to it. But I'm interested to know, Tracy, if you try that, how it works. So if you try to do a coat of paint underneath it, what you use. So I'm really interested to know that. But I know Mod Podge works really well as a top coat still for hooks if you want to use that. But it does not work very well as an adhesive to the actual filament that we use for the hooks. So I hope that clears that up a little bit and is helpful. But we're so excited to see what you guys do this year. I think it's going to be really fun. Like I said, we have over 80 people participating this year, and over 100 hooks sold. So that, you know, you can submit multiple hooks. We actually have already seen one person in particular. I don't know if she's still on here, but Woman Walking a Wire has already finished 2 hooks that we're really excited about. So yeah, we can't wait to see what you guys come up with. And keep in mind, if you did not pay up front for resin coating, so if you did not pay for us to resin coat your finished hook, that is something that you can do after the fact. So if you finish your hook and you're like, man, I want to be able to actually like use this regularly and comfortably, we will have the option for you to pay after the fact for you to send it back to us, and we can coat it in resin, and it'll be just like the hooks that we sell in our shop. So that is always an option, so just let us know. All right, guys, that's it for today. I'm gonna clean all this stuff up. Last look, 2 coats of acrylic paint. I can't wait to show you guys what happens next. Can't wait to see what you guys come up with, and I will see you guys next Friday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Like I said, I will be live next Friday with Tony of TL Yarn Craft, so that's going to be a really fun Pink Sheep and Friends. I hope you'll join me. Then Friday after that, we'll come back to part 2 of the DIY hook challenge, Decorate Your Hook With Me. And this will be available on YouTube if you want to bookmark it for later, especially if you're joining in late. I'm also going to be sending this out to our DIY hook participants if they want to see how I prep my hook for decorating, see if that's helpful for them. I think that's it, guys. I hope you have an amazing Friday and an amazing rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Happy hooking!